Okay, so this shutdown and this food stamp thing is gonna happen, I guess, soon. A very scary thing. I've never taken food stamps. I hope to never. Knock on wood. But this is interesting chart because it really shows what's really happening, and that is that the United States has had to go into debt to repay its debt over and over again. It's something you can't do as an individual. You can't take a credit card to pay another credit card, right? But if you have F-16s and Marines and you have a global reserve currency, well, you can do that. Until you can't, you know. And um, you know, we have more. It's basically it goes back to like when we just started to decouple our money from anything real or like the last vestige of say the gold standard or whatever is the debt limit. And that's why we have the shutdown. And so we have the political people, the Fox News people say, "Oh, it's the Democrats." And then the Democrats will say, "Oh, it's the Republicans." Well, it's both of them, right? They can't come to an agreement. They're using it as a football and hoping that the other side will get blamed. That's pretty much it. That's it. Long and short. So if you look at the 2008 crisis and then when Obama took over, um, they rose a lot of debt. It doesn't look like it as dramatic as later, but actually, yeah, they printed trillions and trillions during the Obama era, and then it took about 2 or 3 years to get the economy on a track. It had a little bit of inflation, but you know, it wasn't like that bad. It was bad, but it wasn't that bad. Well, it depends on your situation, I suppose. Then they kept that going. T Man gets in. You don't even see him on the chart. He just kept it on going. And then you see him in 2020, and then you really see T Man, right? That was the most incredible, ridiculous amount of money printing I'd ever seen in terms of like relative percentages. Um, it was nuts. They just went, crazy. Remember all the ventilators they bought that didn't even get used? All the crap that happened during his era that I don't understand why Republicans don't hold him to account, but they don't. Instead, they just blame Biden, and Biden sucked. Did the same thing, printed money, printed money, printed money. I don't think they have a choice. Both sides are at this because if they don't, it's game over, right? We have to reset the whole system, and that's what I'm scared of because we might be getting close. If we are talking about in what a handful of days canceling food stamps, and for those of you Republican types who think that that's like a cool thing, it's a horrible thing. In fact, a lot of rural people in red areas are on food stamps. Yeah. So there's a lot of ignorance on this issue. Yeah, if we like just cancel food stamps, you're gonna have a lot of that's like dislocation like you wouldn't believe. So, um, and yet we might have to, you know, because of the budget. Like it might have to happen. And what we don't have is sane leadership from either side that will talk to us like adults. They just play games, you know, and that's kind of like how I'm gonna explain the situation of the our budget and why we have a shutdown, quote unquote, even though we've had these things over and over and over. And it might at the last minute get solved, and that might be good. Um, I'm just not sure how many more of these we can do. You know, I don't know. at some point it might actually come to a real like crash of everything. And I don't know if people like really understand what that means. But one thing I wouldn't do is watch Fox News or CNN to try to understand what's going on. I would look at source material like, oh, well, the Federal Reserve actually prints this out and you can see it for yourself. But, you know, I try to have a rational conversation with people and it rarely works. So that's why I do these, that's why the videos here.